Welcome to class 10 students. This is the continuation part of the chapter heredity and common genetic diseases. In my previous video, I have explained till page 133, that is the last point was phenotype and genotype. I was discussing a few key terms associated with the topic of genetics and heredity, and there I have discussed many terms and I have completed discussing that portion. I will move on to the next portion, which is about Mendel's work on pea plant. But before that, in your book you will find a few differences which are between homozygous and heterozygous, dominant and recessive, phenotype and genotype. So all these terms I have explained to you, but I hope you have understood them, and I am not going into the differences anymore because they are basically the same thing. Okay, so moving on with Mendel's work. Gregor Johann Mendel. So he was considered the father of genetics, right? Underline Gregor Johann Mendel, the full name. He was known as the father of genetics because he was the first person to demonstrate the mechanism of inheritance of characters from parents to offsprings. So now we know that we inherit our characteristics from our parents, that can be our father or our mother, but Mendel was the first one to demonstrate this, that how this happens. Means previous to Mendel, no one knew that this happened, that genes passed on from one generation to the next generation, and thus the characters of the offsprings are somewhat similar to their parents. So they did not know all this, and Mendel was the first one to understand this, and he also demonstrated how what the mechanism of inheritance of characters were from parents to offsprings. Okay, so Mendel studied botany and physics in the university. You don't need to learn all these things. Okay, he examined, or he did the experiment with about 14,000 pea plants, and then he gave some laws which are altogether known as Mendel's laws of inheritance. We are going to talk about the laws as well, and before going into the laws, we need to know why Mendel selected pea plants for his experiment. Means I said that he did 14,000 experiments with pea plants, right? But why exactly pea plants? Why not potato plant? Why not ginger plant? Why not any other plant, or why not any other animal? So you will find it in your book, page number, my book is page number 136. If you are a different edition of the book, the pages might differ a little bit. So this one, in this box, it is here. This is a very important question. Why Mendel selected pea plants for his experiment? So mark the points. If there are 10 points, you don't need to learn 10 points. Okay, I will whichever points I say, you will mark those points. Pea plant is an annual plant. Mark this. Annual plant means the plant whose life cycle is for about a year. Okay, so that means pea plant is an annual plant. Very important point. It has, second point also very important, is it has well defined, easily observable and countable characteristics. So the characteristics of the pea plants were easily observable. They could be distinguished from other plants easily. Third point, the varieties were pure. There were pure varieties, and means you have learned about pure and hybrid previously when I was discussing the key terms, right? So all the varieties in pea plant were pure, and by artificially mating them or breeding them, he got hybrid varieties. Okay, but originally they are all pure varieties. Fourth point, they could be easily grown and crossing could be done without any difficulty. So that is also another very important point, that crossing between two different varieties of pea plant could be done very easily, and that is how he conducted so much of experiments solely with pea plants. 14,000 experiments, about 14,000 experiments only with pea plants. If it was very difficult to conduct these experiments, then it would not have been possible. Okay, fifth point. So number 1 to 4 all you will read. Fifth point, it possesses bisexual flowers. So both the male and female flowers are found in case of pea plant. This one is also important. You will read 5 as well. Point number 6, they are easily self-fertilized, and that is also an important point. So they need to be self-fertilized, they need to be fertilized on their own without artificial means of fertilizing them. That is how the plants grew this much. Okay, next is reproductive parts being larger can be handled without any difficulty. So in some flowers or in some other plants, the reproductive parts are very small, very delicate. That is why they are not very easy to handle well. And since the reproductive parts of the pea plants are larger, they can be handled without any difficulty. Okay, hybridization can be done very easily. Self-fertilization produces pure line. So these points you can skip, but from 1 to 7 you have to read why. These are the reasons why Mendel selected pea plant, why pea plant was selected by Mendel, why not any other plant. So these are the reasons, these are the important reasons. 1 to 7 you will read. Okay, next you have the Mendel's chosen contrasting characters in pea plant. So these 7 contrasting pair of characters are very, very important to read. Okay, so you will have to remember all the 7 characters, which one is dominant trait, which one is recessive trait. You will have to remember all, because you will get genetic problems. We will do that later on. You will get genetic problems based on these, and which one is dominant and which one is recessive will not be mentioned. So you will have to remember on your own, and you will have to solve the problem accordingly. So you will have to remember this full chart very, very well by heart. Okay, so seed shape. For seed shape, dominant trait is round while recessive is wrinkled. Seed color, dominant yellow, recessive green. Flower color, violet is dominant, white is recessive. Pod shape, pod means what the shape of the seed is. Pod shape, inflated is dominant, constricted. See, this is the picture. This one is the constricted. You will see in your book only. Inflated means a little bit swelled up, and constricted means shrinked. So pod color, green is dominant, yellow is recessive. Flower position, where the flower is located. Axial means at the top, that one is the dominant trait, and terminal is the recessive trait. Stem height, tall is dominant and dwarf is recessive. So you will have to learn all of these dominant and recessive traits and the characteristics by heart, all 7. Then only you will be able to solve those problems without any difficulty. Okay, so whatever I have discussed today, I hope that is clear to you all. Next day I will start with monohybrid cross, means the Mendel's laws and the monohybrid cross, and then I will move on to dihybrid cross slowly, and those things are quite difficult, I will say. So to go or to understand those properly, you need to have a very good concept of the previous topics that I have done till now of this chapter. So go through the chapter very well, and in the online class you can tell me where you are having the problem. Okay, thank you.